to tell you a bit about my journey around transformation, how I started to collaborate with Payzaar and the great findings we got throughout the POC, so proof of concept we did. So, maybe a word about the way we are structured at Danone. So Danone is a French company, publicly traded in the CAC 40, so the 40 biggest French companies. It's a very, I would say, traditional company in France. We have a mix of service delivery models that include in-house outsourcing, 50-50 if we look at the number of countries. But in terms of headcount, it's more 70 in-house and 30 outsourced. And we have a very, I would say, broken system and vendor landscape. We have 37 suppliers and systems and as many interfaces right now in the landscape. So you can really see that it's a legacy setup. I really relate to what you were explaining a bit earlier on. It's a company that was built on acquisitions. So you acquire a brand, you acquire factories, and this is why you get so many, I would say, systems in the scope. So in terms of organization, we are at the very first stages of the transformation. So the payroll and administration tasks are within what we call employee services, which is really the team taking care of the transactional activities, which is part of the Danone business services. However, we are decentralized, meaning that although it's part of one team, people are still sitting in the country. We have very strong compliance requirements. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Strong control guidance, again, because we're a traded company and we're part of this list of top companies in France. A few words about the number of employees, around 100,000. So that's large across more than 55 countries on 5 continents. So very various. And our products are available in more than 120 countries around the world. So that's, I would say, the big picture. Now, what are the key challenges that I've been meeting for the pre-transformation payroll operating model? So, decentralized model and very strong local first culture. I am not able to do anything without getting some involvement from the local. It doesn't mean that the local will decide everything, but it means that whatever I do, I need to make sure that each geography that we have can, I would say, a piece of the action, meaning that there's a local business case that is addressed by what I'm doing at a global level. We have a payroll ecosystem which is in a legacy state. I was mentioning it before. There are reasons for that, which I need to accept. But still, we have 37 plus different solutions, which are based on local country choice and requirements. It's not easy to manage and convince people. We had no global governance over KPIs, nor global framework for payroll processes. Obviously, it's one of the first things that I've been setting up. So basic KPIs like accuracy, measuring the accuracy, measuring the timeliness of the payment to the employees, measuring how many compliance issues we get across the globe. And only that is not an easy task, if I want to be honest. Plus a control framework, which already existed, but had to be fine-tuned. Also, we have, in general, limited capacity in the payroll teams. So the organization is very lean. There were several transformations that happened before, and it means that the teams are really focused on the work, the day-to-day for payroll. And whenever you have a project kicking in, it's very difficult to get them to spare some time to work on it. Multiple systems and limited integration, I think it's obvious if you look at the payroll ecosystem we have. And inconsistent data model, meaning that we have success factor as HCM, so that's a good thing. But the way it's used across the geos is inconsistent, meaning in some countries we're maintaining, 100 info types or portlets, that's the way it's called. Currently, we have other countries where they maintain very little. So it's very difficult to understand, and it's also hampering us, because one of the things that I really wanted to set, and I started to, is to have one consistent data model, because if we don't get that, it's impossible to build a global process. So the vision and the strategy that I have for the global payroll. So first, people and organization, that's the top pillar. So errorless culture and delivery model. It's bold, to be honest, but that's the way we want it. So we want to bring zero error culture. That's why also we brought these KPIs, because we want to give a measure to people to be able to tell them, well, this is where we stand. I also want to make sure that we have a little more guidance on the service delivery model that we're choosing. So far, there was no clear direction taken, meaning each country could decide. For me, it's clear that small countries, in general, if I have to change a supplier, I would like them to outsource. We can discuss a bit later if you want the rationale why. But for me, for a small headcount country, it's way simpler to outsource to a payroll supplier, simpler from business continuity perspective, and in general, you get a business case for it. Large countries that we have, I would say more than 1,000 headcounts. I'm in general more in favor of in-house, because I think the business case works a little better. Those countries are also very sensitive in general. We have factories, we have complex population. And the way our company works, we need a lot of flexibility. So it sounds like it's easier to run the payroll ourselves. But again, I have some counterexamples of some countries with very large headcounts are running outsourced payroll, and it's working. And I would say if I start from scratch, I would rather say software as a service model here. Now, standardizing the process and the controls. So our processes right now are a mixed bag. We have countries where they are over-controlling, not necessarily doing the right thing, and spending a lot of time, hours, doing controls that are redundant. And then we have countries where they are under-controlling, meaning that every year we get some segregation of duty conflict issues, so everyone is screaming. So we have an issue here that I want to tackle. Another issue that we have is around the knowledge transfer and the documentation training. We have a challenge which is around the retention of people. I guess that's the same everywhere. And the only solution for me, short term, is to get better at documenting things so that when someone comes in the team, they know where to find the resources. And that's not something that we're achieving consistently. And then the last bit, which probably we'll focus more on today, is ecosystem rationalization. I want to consolidate the payroll landscape under best-in-class system and suppliers. That's the first. I really want to leverage SuccessFactors as a master data for our payroll solutions. And I want also standardized integration. I would like the same set of portlets to be interfaced in general. And I would like also to strengthen this global data model because, again, as I was mentioning before, it's not consistently applied across the geos. Now, how does that translate? And I was alluding to that in terms of strategy for global payroll. Again, large headcount countries. I want to pick a top-tier supplier with a global presence. I want direct servicing, and I want a unique platform. And unique platform, for me, it's very important that the supplier I'm going to pick is going to give me the same system from one country to the other. Because otherwise, all the integration issues I have, I will not be resolving them. And then for the large countries, where I see the use case for Payzaar is really for reporting and accounting connect, mainly because of the reporting of costs. At Danone, we have a huge demand from finance for a consolidated cost reporting. And for me, Payzaar is a really good tool for those large countries to get a full picture of the labor costs in one tool. So this is what I really liked when we were doing the proof of concept for the large countries. And yeah, I was mentioning preference for in-house model. Again, that can be challenged, but that's where I'm standing now. For medium and small-sized countries, here we're picking tier 2 suppliers with global presence and direct servicing, so same concept, but not the same caliber of supplier. And we see Payzaar in the mix, okay? And here, the use case for Payzaar is broader. So yes, reporting definitely, the costs also of interest, accounting connect for the GL, but here also, I want to rely on Payzaar for the integration for those small countries. Because I don't see myself building sophisticated integration API or whatever for all the small countries, and I think I have 30 plus of those. I rather prefer a solution like Payzaar. One thing that I really liked is this drag and drop functionalities that you guys offer, which makes that in the end, we don't really need to integrate per se. We don't need to build API or whatever. The drag and drop functionality for me is doing the job perfectly here for small countries. So that's what we mean here by HR Connect. And operations control, which is basically the module that gives us access to the workflows, the document storage, and all those functionalities that are very useful for me to work on a unified model of controls. A little more about how Payzaar fits into our vision and strategy. So again, what we really liked so far in the proof of concept that we did, so standardize and improve governance for HR payroll, HR reporting, finance, and accounting. So it's all the stakeholders that are interested at the figures and at the payroll in general. Easier data availability and visualization, so getting everything as dashboards, workflows makes it way easier than, as we were mentioning, email exchanging or Excel spreadsheets that are never the same across countries. Reducing the manual work, so what we've observed through the POC is that we're forecasting a 10 hours saving of effort per country per month, okay? So that may vary depending on the country we'll have, but that's what we're looking at right now based on the proof of concept we did. Improve compliance and easier audits. Why is that? Because we would get the workflows, we would get the document attached to it, so it's way easier to track who approved what, who rejected what, and what are the comments. Reduce the pain points in existing process, meaning bookings, so finance booking, payroll approval, segregation of duties, risk mitigation. So all those things through the proof of concept, we've seen that we're able to mitigate them in a satisfactory manner. So that's one of the great success of this POC. advanced reporting features, so it's related with the cost, but it's something that our finance people like a lot. Improve visibility of people costs, well, actually that's related to that. Faster month-end closure, it's related with the GL posting. So maybe I will zoom a bit on this piece. So we're using SAP FICO for posting. It's unified, so we have the same tool everywhere. But we have very little geographies that integrated through flat file or whatever technology. And for us, Payzaar is a great opportunity to generate those files in a format that is actually compatible with SAP FICO standard. So it means that no more macro, no more manual retyping, which is what was happening previously. So that's also something that finance liked a lot. Any question?
I think maybe you're doing this without changing the payroll provider.
Yeah, and maybe that's something I can elaborate on. The rationale that I have for the small countries is we have 30 plus suppliers in those countries. Maybe I'm not so happy with some of them and I wouldn't have to pick them, but that's a legacy. So rather than spinning my wheels and changing them one by one, looking at all the things we want to do, I would say the idea was, okay, let's leverage Payzaar solution. Let's rather harmonize the controls, harmonize the reporting that we can do, and keep those local suppliers. And that's also why we liked a lot the Payzaar model, because we didn't have to destroy, I would say, our landscape and engage into a super time-consuming project for the small countries. The idea was, let's keep them, let's have a layer of control and integration, which makes that for us going to be neutral. Whatever is happening, I would say, in the background on the payroll software, we don't see it anymore. We just see the report, we just see the tools. And of course, I would say the only caveat is if we have a local supplier that simply is not compliant or the relationship is so bad that it's not going to work if we want to integrate them with Payzaar, then we need to change them. That's the only deviation.